Okay, so let's introduce Lemma2. It says, in a vector space, the span of any subset is a subspace. Okay, so that's Lemma2. In a vector space, the span of any subset is a subspace. So let's go through the proof of that. Okay, so the proof says if the subset S is empty, then by definition, its span is the trivial subspace. Okay, so that's that. Okay. If S is not empty, then we're going to use Lemma1 from earlier. And so what we need to show, the only thing we need to show is that the span of S is closed under linear combinations of a pair of pairs of elements, right? So all we have to do is show that two elements from S, from the span of S, is closed. Or, excuse me, that the span of S is closed under linear combination of a pair of elements. And that's from Lemma1. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a pair of vectors from the span. So let's take the vector V, which is equal to this, where S1 through Sn come from S, and C1 through Cn are real numbers. And we'll take the vector W, which is another linear combination of elements of S, right? Okay. And so V is in the span of S and W is in the span of S. So now what we can do is we can take a linear combination of those two, right? So if we take a linear combination of those two vectors, let's say P times V and R times W, where P and R are just real numbers, they're scalars, okay? And so if we do that, we get this linear combination, right? So we get the linear combination of these pair of vectors, but that in itself is a linear combination of vectors in the span. So therefore, it's closed. And we're done. That's it. And so therefore, the span of S is a subspace. All right. Now the converse also holds. Any subspace is the span of some set. So that's another thing to keep in mind too. Any subspace is the span of some set because a subspace is obviously the span of itself, the set of all of its members. Thus, a subset of a vector space is a subspace if and only if it is a span. So it actually goes both ways. So it's an if and only if. But anyway, we'll talk more about that later. All right, let's do some examples.